Good afternoon and welcome everyone. We appreciate you joining us for now the second local business owner roundtable discussion to address the needs and challenges of local retail businesses. I'm standing in place for Lori Hamill and will be moderating the discussion today, at least for now. But my name is Manjulika Das. I'm the Membership and Marketing Coordinator for SBN. And we are so glad to be joined by three incredible retail leaders who have, I'm sure, been dealing with their own hardships with their own businesses during the pandemic. So we're joined by Nephtaliem McCrary, who is the owner of the Great Eastern Trading Company in Cambridge, Emily Kanter, who's the co-owner of Cambridge Naturals in Cambridge, and Kim Mitchell, who's the owner of Boing Toy Shop in Jamaica Plain, and also the owner of Catapult retail co-chain. So I think as we're still waiting for a few more people, I'll start by asking each of the speakers to maybe just briefly introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their business until we really get into some of the questions.
Kim Mitchell. I am the owner of Boing Toy Shop in Jamaica Plain. I've owned it for the last 10 years. And I also do retail coaching on the side, and I've been doing that for a couple of years, helping mostly local businesses hopefully be better and more successful business owners. Admittedly, in the last 6 months or 4 months here, it feels like a lifetime. I've been very focused on my store at this point, but so yeah, that's who I am.
Thank you, Kim. Nephtaliem, would you like to go next?
Hello, my name is Nephtaliem McCrary. I own Great Eastern Trading Company, a vintage clothing store in Central Square that has been here 52 years. I bought the store about 4 years ago, and needless to say, it's been quite a challenge. This has been, it's been a wild ride for the last 4 years, but definitely the last 6 months have been, I don't know, just very eye-opening and challenging in ways I never knew possible. This store was owned for 43 years with some other people, and then alone by a woman named Marlene Kloss, who I was a friend of and a customer here for many years. And then the time came that she wanted to move on, and I was looking for something new to do and bought the store. And so I've just been trying to, at this point, keep afloat. But things were looking good until the last few months. But I'm grateful to have this business, and it's a legacy business, and I'm just proud to be, the person at the helm. So, hello.
Hi,
everyone. So I'm Emily Kanter. I'm the second generation co-owner of Cambridge Naturals. Strangely right below me in the Zoom screen. I don't know what it looks like for everyone else, but my dad is right below me on here, founder of the store along with my mom, Elizabeth. And my husband and I moved back 6 years ago to get involved with the business after going to business school and getting our MBAs. But I cut my teeth, so to speak, at SBN in my early career. So SBN alum. And we're a 46-year-old natural health and wellness retail business focused on providing a community resource for supplements, body care, lifestyle supplies, organic and local and natural groceries, and a few other exciting items in the mix. And we have certainly had some ups and downs in the pandemic. We closed our doors back in March to the public for maybe the first time ever, outside of the occasional snowstorm. And we were doing curbside and phone orders for a long time. We were very fortunately able to open at the beginning of July for limited walk-ins. So things have started to pick up business-wise ever since then, but it's definitely been an interesting few months. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Great, thank you so much, everyone. I know Lori's here. Lori, would you like to take over, or I could keep going? Oh, Lori, you're on mute. Lori is on mute. Yeah, there we go.
Go, Angelica, you're doing great. That's good.
Okay, great. So I think I'm gonna start by asking a few questions specifically about phase 3. Just, you know, how has business been going for you during the Massachusetts phase 3 reopening, and sort of what lessons have you learned for the future for your business during this time? And you can go into a little more detail about that. Kim, I think you're on mute.
All right. I mean, for me, you know, phase 3, I didn't see like a huge difference. I didn't feel, and as soon as we went to phase 3, it was like everybody was rushing out of their doors by any means. I mean, I would sort of describe it. It's been sort of slow and steady, and people are being cautious. You know, we right now have a 10 person limit in our store, and we haven't hit that yet. I mean, we've had a couple of times where maybe someone's about to leave and someone else is coming in.
Are you having a problem with her, Majulika? I'm having trouble with her speaking.
Yeah. Kim, do you have like maybe have you joined from another phone or a laptop maybe, or is there something on your end that's
yeah.
How about feedback from your end?
All in my phone,
okay.
Maybe. Yeah.
All right. Sure. So
if somebody else, if somebody else wants to go, then I'll call in on my phone.
Sure. Great. Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry about that, Kim.
That's
Emily,
okay.
would you like to go ahead?
Sure. Yeah. So we technically could have been open this whole time because we're a grocery store. We have 2 locations, so grocery stores. So we were already sort of thinking about reopening before we even had a plan from the state. But when we did reopen, we looked very carefully to both the retail guidelines and then the grocery store guidelines, and kind of found a hybrid that worked for us. In terms of what the restrictions were and what the protocols were. And so we reopened. I don't remember the exact capacity limit that we are at right now, but we're definitely below the maximum limit. And we have hit that limit over the course of being open, but not every day, not all the time. And, you know, certainly weather has played a factor. All the, you know, people being away for the summer has been a factor. I'm sure a lot of things, people not even knowing we were open. I mean, we blasted it out on social media. We sent out a newsletter, several newsletters. We alerted our partners that we were going to be open to the public. And at the same time, there were still people walking up, you know, days into us being open to the public and saying, oh my gosh, you're open. Okay, can I come on in? So it's been a gradual process of ramping up the business, but certainly we've seen a huge boost in sales since we opened back up to the public. And we keep hearing from our customers that they just really do love shopping in person with us. And so for those who walking in is not an option, the curbside pickup and the phone orders and the delivery service we have are great. But in general, I think people much prefer walking in and shopping. It's in a lot of ways more convenient. They like the experience. And so we've been trying to make it as close to a Cambridge Naturals experience as possible.
Yeah, thank you, Emily. I can imagine, I mean, that customer service aspect is very much lost as well, because I'm sure they love engaging in conversation with you and your staff about various products and discovering products they never knew at your store. So,
exactly.
I can imagine. Nephtaliem, how about you? Or Kim, I think Kim is back on. If Kim, you'd like to pick up from where you'd left off?
Sure. Sorry, I did drop off there to try to come back in.
I mean, I think I
You
just
sound
said,
great,
you
Kim.
know,
It's great to hear your voice. That sounds beautiful.
all right, great. Let me start video. All right. So yeah, I mean, I feel like people are, you know, sort of slow and steady, being cautious, being smart, which frankly is, you know, just fine with us because we're learning along the way as well. So it's giving us some opportunities to fix things, feel more comfortable, you know, make sure my staff is comfortable. You know, I've had some staff members that haven't wanted to come back yet. And I actually had one come in who just wanted to observe how things were around the store for a half an hour just to test his comfort level. So, so yeah, I mean, if we're still on sort of that phase 3 question, I feel like it wasn't like some gangbusters event where all of a sudden everything was, you know, back to normal by any means. I mean, I'm a toy store, and until birthday parties come back, you know, it's going to be, I mean, it's fine. I'm happy. I feel fortunate because I am a toy store and people are looking for things to occupy themselves. But it's certainly not back to where it was pre-COVID. So.
Yeah, thank you, Kim. That was one of my questions to you, was one of the popular activities we've been hearing during this quarantine is people are doing board games and they're doing puzzles, and, you know, whether you saw kind of a spike in sales at that point, or whether, you know, that in-person experience, because there's a limitation there, that's, you know, been challenging for sales as well.
Yeah, I mean, you know, thankfully for me, yes, it seemed like everybody became a puzzler. So I sold, you know, probably 4 or 5 years of puzzles in about 3 months. I had a hard time getting puzzles myself after a while because the supply was depleted. I was doing local deliveries, and I was sometimes getting things to people. I mean, sometimes it would be within 2 hours if they hit the sort of cycle right of when we were leaving our store. So we were joking around that we should change our tagline to faster than Amazon, which I would not put their name in my tagline, but it's been sort of something fun that we've joked around, because sometimes we were getting things to people like almost like too fast. Like one guy, he put in the order, 20 minutes later, it was at his front door, and he kind of came to the front door like, whoa, like I said, too fast? He's like, well, that was fast. But so, but yes, I was very fortunate that I had things that people wanted. So.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Nephtaliem, how about yourself?
Unmute. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a little challenging. I was very wary and skeptical of taking advantage of some of the loans that were being offered in some of the basically loans, because I was trying to be not negative but realistic that the numbers, the COVID numbers were going to go up. The way the country was responding to it wasn't as even, I think, as some other countries. And so I thought, okay, so I take a loan out, and then everyone's like, you know, phase 2, phase 3 is coming. But then looking at the way we conduct ourselves as a nation, are those phases going to come? And then I'm holding this debt. I was just very trying to keep this small business, which it's a very tricky tightrope to turn a profit at some points of the year and some years so far. And so I was reluctant to jump on those situations. When phase 3 did happen, I reformatted how my store was going to be open, and put racks of clothing on the sidewalk. I still do have hand sanitizer stations, free masks if people didn't have them available, and gloves, so that people could browse and, you know, touch the merchandise comfortably. And I'm sort of off the beaten path in Central Square. I'm on River Street, like a block and a half down from Mass Ave. So the foot traffic that I would normally get was depleted even more, just because it was off the beaten path, and Central Square turned into like a ghost town for a couple months there. But I went at it, you know, with as much gusto as I could. I actually reduced my hours and days of the week open to try to also be realistic to, you know, my expectations, is sort of meter them. And it didn't go too poorly. I would allow one person in the store at a time. There's 650 square feet on the retail floor. And so I would have a nice array of things out on the sidewalk, a little table with jewelry and accessories. And then if people were interested in a certain thing, I would allow one person in the store at a time. Just because the way the store's set up, it's hard to maintain 6 foot distance. And I just want it to be as safe as possible. I mean, business is not back to normal, I wouldn't say. We're doing about 1/3 of what we would normally be doing. And also, the winter is usually a tough time, but then when spring hits, people start buying stuff for spring wear coming out of the winter, stuff for summer, Memorial Day, proms, 4th of July, and then the Burning Man crew likes to come and get wild and outlandish stuff for Burning Man. And none of those things are happening. You know, the proms were canceled. People were advised not to go to beaches or, you know, take vacations or fly on planes. 4th of July was, as you saw, not much, and Burning Man's canceled. So, you know, it's just like the demand, it's not an essential thing. So I've struggled a little bit, but I basically, I'm in the mindset at this point that I'm sort of treading water to try to keep the thing afloat until if and when this passes, and hope that I basically took whatever money I had made. There was a pop-up store in Central Square called Pop Central, you might be aware of. It was a conglomerate of other small businesses and vendors. We teamed up in that old mattress store to have a pop-up shop for the holidays, and then it was supposed to continue through until July, and then in like mid-March everything shut down there. But I had some extra money, which I thought 2020 is gonna be the best year ever if I'm going into the spring with, you know, and then I basically just melted that extra money to stay afloat, pay my rent. I did not get any rent relief or anything from Wind Management or anybody. Paid my, you know, my insurance and everything. And then it was just about at the point where I was like, I got to figure out what I'm going to do. And then they were like, phase 3 starting next week. And I was like, yes. So I'm treading water. And the people that come in are being very respectful of the social distancing advisories and wearing masks and stuff. I've had no problems whatsoever. So I'm grateful for that. But yeah, it's pretty scary right now, you know, to be, you know, to be in this biz. You know, but not just for me, it's for everyone. I think we're all going through a similar thing. I mean, I keep reminding myself that if the business, if I can't keep it together and it ends up, God forbid, that I have to close this business, in 10 years, if I look back and said my business didn't make it out of the COVID-19 pandemic, it's not like I mismanaged, you know, the business or didn't do something right. It's just a part of our history and our culture that I think we all have to sort of accept that it's a real possibility that things are going to go south again. God forbid. I'm trying to stay positive, but, you know, I'm also trying to be realistic. So, yeah, that's, you know, where I'm at.
It's a weird, unpredictable time, and I can only imagine what all of you are going through, you know, in your businesses. And especially with all these events that are being canceled, and a lot of folks come to your store in order to buy that clothing that they would then wear at those events. I can imagine. I know there's an increase for online kind of retail. Everything's kind of transitioning to online retail. Is that kind of something you're thinking about doing with your store?
Well, online, there's a lot of people that just do online, and so it was sort of an overflooded market with a lot of things. I'm also a professional musician. A lot of friends of mine saw this coming and jumped on the online concert thing right away. So and the online business, the Etsy people that just do Etsy, sort of. I don't know. I tried. I put some things up, and it's just, again, it's an overflooded thing. So the time it takes to display the clothing and photograph it correctly and put all the details in is sometimes doesn't pay off, you know. There's a question when I looked at what we'd be talking about. Lessons I've learned is to have that ready to go, so that it's not such a daunting task if something like this should ever happen again. But all in all, you know, yeah, the online thing didn't really work out for me that well. But I don't know, you know, I could have put more effort into it, or saw the break that I would have to take from the brick and mortar being a little bit more pressing, and done a better job with it, honestly.
Sure. Yeah. What are some of the, you know, marketing decisions and changes that you've had to make, you know, within your businesses? And, you know, what's worked well, and what are some lessons that you've others can learn from your experience and kind of the marketing changes or business changes you've had to make? And this is for everyone.
So we've done a pretty robust marketing effort for a few years now on social media. So we were really fortunate to have, I think at the time, over 10,000 followers on Instagram, and a really sort of like active social media community. And we really relied upon that in the early stages of the pandemic to get the word out about what we were doing and where we were at. Our newsletter, we have around 6,000 subscribers, so not quite as many. But those actually, our newsletter subscribers tend to be a lot of our longtime loyal customers who've been shopping with us for decades. And so on both sides of the, you know, marketing realm, we have some, you know, we have really strong followings on both platforms, I would say. And we started to communicate with as much transparency as possible and as proactively as possible. Also, just to give our customers a sense of like they were in it with us. You know, we didn't just try to paint a pretty picture about everything from the get-go. We were really transparent about why we were closing to the public, and, you know, that we didn't know what was going to happen, and we're working on a website for you, and here's why you can't get through on our phone lines. And that seemed to resonate with a lot of our customers, and they seemed really excited to find alternative ways to support us via gift cards and otherwise. So we also tried to come up with some creative ideas like grab bags instead of you know, the usual like picking out all of your items. When we didn't have a robust online shopping platform, you know, we said call us, give us your 3 favorite themes, and we'll pick out and a budget, and we'll pick out a gift bag for you. And then it gives you sort of that like discovery element of shopping with us, where you come in not knowing what you're going to get, but finding all these cool things. We said, give us your budget and, you know, give us your themes, and we'll put something together for you in a curated selection. And that was pretty successful right off the bat. I mean, yeah, I similarly wish we had had a really robust online shopping platform set up and ready to go. Kicking myself that I didn't realize a global pandemic was around the corner.
What's wrong with you, Emily?
I'll be ready. But at the same time, you know, I think we were really focused on building a community as a brick and mortar store. And like the other retailers, I think we're also just, you know, yes, we have an online platform. We're trying to make it as user friendly and you know, user experience wise robust as possible. But we are also just kind of trying to hold steady until we can really have people back in the store, because that's what we do best. And we know we do it the best. And, you know, yes, we're also trying to sort of like beat out Amazon in terms of convenience and even sometimes price point, or at least match price point. But for us, it's really about the experience in the community, and that happens largely in store. So whatever we can do to stay alive. And like Nephtaliem, you know, we've also had to reckon with if we had to close our doors forever and recognize that this is largely out of our hands. We can't predict what's going to happen next and what a second wave is going to look like. And I think sort of maybe going into the worst case scenario was helpful for us to not fear it, and then make decisions proactively to prevent that, but not sort of operating in a state of constant fear.
Yeah, for me, like sort of related to marketing, I actually feel like in certain ways this whole experience has forced me to actually do all the things that I knew I should be doing all along, like regularly communicating and committing to, you know, those weekly newsletters, keeping my Google listing up to date. I was fortunate that I had an e-commerce platform, but it had maybe a quarter of my items up there, because again, I feel like people used it as a reference point to see, do I sell Lego? Do I sell Playmobil? And then they'd come into the store. So I didn't so much worry, did I have everything up there? It was just, do I have a representative sample? But I was able to just start really focusing on that. And yeah, I mean, I really do feel like it forced me to realize that usually I rely on face-to-face conversations with my customers, but they were really craving any type of communication, right? I mean, everyone was stuck in their homes. So newsletter, my tone became much more conversational, much more letting them know that this is what we're trying to do. And even when we were facing the shutdown, we're like, we're going to stay open as long as we can. And it became just more of a conversation, and there was honesty to it. And now that we are open, it's amazing. I've had several people who have come in and have said things like, thank you so much for communicating with us during that time. And it was nice to realize that, yes, they would probably prefer to be in the store, but they were open to any type of dialogue with me. And my sense is that the relationship is as strong, if not stronger, and people are coming into the store really concerned and really wanting to know, like, how are you doing? And in a real, like, really concerned that we're going to get out of this okay. And that, of course, started long before this happened. I mean, that's the work that we've all done leading up to this to be a part of the community. But I just I've been pleased with how because you weren't getting the feedback. It's like, am I communicating too much? Am I saying too much? Is this what they want to hear from me? And I think everyone was just craving connection, and we're open to it in, you know, in newsletter and email form, rather than face to face. Yeah, but for me, I mean, like keeping my voicemail messages up to date. Like every time I change my hours, I'm committing to like making sure that that is reflected everywhere. Because people, we have some other businesses in the district that aren't keeping their Google hours up to date, and it's funny, they'll like come into my store to complain about them. I'm like sorry, but it's like they've come out of their house, they're trying to go to that store, and then the hours online are not accurate. And yeah, that's frustrating, you know. Not that I can do anything about it, but it's like they want to air their grievances, and you don't realize it's those small things that, you know, people remember. So I'm just trying to be very aware that all of my online presence is up to date and consistent.
Yeah, I think, you know, being small local neighborhood stores, I mean, people, there's a whole experience in going in and looking at things and speaking to the owners and staff, and I'm sure that's being missed a lot. I know I'm missing it a lot, so I can only,
Yeah.
It's tough. We've had to kind of transition virtually very quickly, and a lot of people are still adjusting to it. So, Nephtaliem, how have you been kind of changing some of your, you know, the marketing decisions you've had to make?
Well, I've always been very active on social media, you know, with promoting the store. Hold on, sorry. I'm caught. Promoting the store and making my own like commercials and videos for the store. I've been doing a lot of that since day one. So not much has changed there. I'm just at a loss. I mean, there was a surprise. So the movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, the people addressing systemic racism and that whole thing with George Floyd. Some people's effort to help the cause was to support Black-owned businesses, and so I felt weird trying to pander to that. If you want to support a Black-owned business, you know, I am a Black man and I own a business. I just felt weird doing that, but I did allow other people to tag me in those things, and I think there was a direct result, at least for the first couple of weeks, as these things go, towards helping and supporting and bringing attention to my business. So that was a positive change that I did not see coming or expect and appreciate. In regards to that, you know, it's one of those, especially up here in Massachusetts, it's sort of like this phantom thing. I mean, I definitely have experienced racial bias or not being presented with you know, normal opportunities or getting passed over, and I just don't focus on it. I don't post rants about people in our community that we all know, trust me, who have done things that seemed a little weird. It's just always been sort of just another challenge. It's something else for me to rise to the occasion and overcome. And I think I've gotten numb to being derailed by it. So I'm glad that the world is suddenly addressing it sort of en masse. It really like almost brings me to tears when I think about it, just because it's one of those things that in instances with other business owners or friends of mine that I brought it up, some people were like, yo, I know what you're talking about. And other people I feel like were just kind of like, oh, I don't think it's that. Like, you know, you got to pull a race card. It's not, everything is not racist, you know, like look at the world, like look at the opportunities you have. And it's just one of those frustrating, crushing things where it's like, you don't know how this feels and you don't know what I'm witnessing and what I know about this. So now it's like, I have to say that less. So that's like a relief. So in terms of getting back to the topic, sorry, went on a little tangent there. I've just sort of been posting a lot of pictures and examples of the things that we have and that we're open and that we're practicing social distance and COVID safety protocols. And it's been a very positive response to that. This is all uncharted territory for me, and I'm sure for you as well, all of you. So I don't know what's next. I don't know if we're heading phase 3 in a positive direction, or if the numbers, like if we're gonna hit a second wave, like have we finished the first wave? Like I just can't even fathom it. I'm just trying to get up every day and come in here with a positive attitude and hope, and just try to give other people hope by assuring them that it's not over, you know, and that we're going to push forward and there's a way to do this safely. Right now, I'm trying to put together a flea market in Medford that a guy that owns a property there by a restaurant, the Porch Medford, has given me the green light to curate a outdoor flea market with social distance and safety protocols in place, you know? And so that might save my business, like just being in charge of that, and then using the vendor fees for promotion, and also to help my store sort of, sort of make up the difference that I've lost from being closed for months. So fingers crossed that starts next Saturday, the 8th, and hopefully that'll allow me to give other people who don't have brick and mortar stores and have been completely shut out of the market and flea market and fair scene, Brimfield, and all the flea markets that have been closed down. I mean, they're really suffering as well. So I'm trying to give other people opportunity and sort of embolden Great Eastern Trading Company to survive. We'll see how that goes. Stay tuned. So there's that. Yeah. And if any of you want to be involved in that, if Cambridge Naturals or Boing wants to set up a 10 by 10 tent, like just reach out to me. My arms are open. You can, and if you know anybody else that needs help, please let me know. I need as many people involved as possible to make it work. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you want to send us the details, we'll promote it in our newsletter and on social media. So
okay.
Send the details.
Yeah, absolutely. I will.
Cool.
I will. Where's the mute?
That's wonderful, Nephtaliem. I mean, that's a great idea, and I'm excited because I live in Medford, so I'd love to be there and meet you all in person. These are rapidly changing times, and we certainly commend you for having to make these incredibly rapid decisions and adjustments in trying to keep your business afloat and alive. So I think we're at 5:10. I wanted to, yeah, go ahead.
Hi everybody, I'm Nicola Williams, the Williams Agency. Nephtaliem, I've seen you perform. Are you getting a chance to perform at least virtually?
No, I kind of wanted to see how that would go. And I saw my friends saying, like, we're doing this concert online and it's virtual and you can go to our virtual tip jar. But then, like, not to knock any of my friends, but it did seem like they were 3 or 4 feet away from their fellow bandmates. And if they spread out, it would be too wide a shot. It would be too small. And I just, honestly, I believe that COVID is real. I am not one of those COVID hoaxers, and I don't want to be stuck in a room with my best friends, and if one of us doesn't know we have it, and then we spread it to the others, and we all have families, I just been laying off of that. If there's an outdoor opportunity that might actually be in conjunction with this flea market I'm trying to put together, and also Central Square BID is doing this thing called Starlight.
Yep.
And I saw the parking lot. It looks like they're setting it up right with stadium seating and social distancing. So if an opportunity like that arises, I will definitely. I'm also a wedding singer, and that I had like $65,000 on the table to make this summer between May and November doing weddings. Myself, 65,000, and all 65,000. 65 weddings have been canceled. I got 6 on the books, and they're like holiday parties from November to December, and everyone else is either rescheduled or canceled. So, yeah, I've
You're
been
an amazing singer. So
thank you very much. Stay tuned. I mean, I'm not in a rush to open my store at full capacity or do shows and contribute to the things that are continuing this virus and these numbers not coming down. Again, it's happening to all of us, and it's a pandemic, and I'll let chips fall where they may, but I want to contribute to the end of the spread of it. And, money comes and goes, but, I don't want to kill my mom. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Yeah.
Or your child.
Yeah. Or my child. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to echo that. We similarly we've opened up, but our first priority has been to our staff. Our second priority has been to our customers, and part of keeping our customers safe is also not letting too many people in our store at any given time. And financially, that's obviously has impacted us quite a bit. But yeah, we don't know when the second wave is coming, and certainly there's still cases in Massachusetts, 200 plus a day. And to some degree, the longer we prolong this, the harder it's going to be to actually keep our businesses going in the long run anyway. So for us, it's felt like, going back to normal is kind of a short-term thinking solution, because ultimately it's not going to go back to normal, and then we're going to have to face the consequences one way or another. And if our staff get sick, if we get sick, that's going to really suck for our businesses too. So we can't guarantee anything, but we're trying to do the best we can to make sure that we're being as smart and safe as possible, and not contributing to the case rise in Massachusetts. Similarly.
Yeah.
Angelica, can we invite some of the guests if they have a question?
Yes. So this is the live Q&A portion of the call. So anyone who has a question, please feel free to unmute yourself and you can speak up, or if you feel more comfortable putting your question in the chat, we'll be reading the chat box as well. So anyone with any questions? Okay, I had a quick question for Emily, actually. Emily, we noticed that you started a YouTube segment called Banter with Kanter, and we're hoping you could speak a little bit about it and what was the motivation to starting that up.
Sure. Well, this is something I've been trying to get my dad to do for a while now. It's his title, so I can't take credit for that. Banter with Kanter is something that he came up with, and largely driven because he's a pretty chatty Cathy, and likes he's on mute, so he can't defend himself right now. But if you've ever spent time with my dad, he likes to talk, and once you get him talking, 18 tangents later, you'll actually get around to the point. Our first conversation on Banter with Kanter, he asked when we were prepping, he said, "Do you think we're gonna need filler questions?" And I said, no, we're definitely not going to need filler questions. But, you know, it's an opportunity for me to highlight my dad's 46 years of experience in this industry and in this business. And so, you know, we've started interviewing primarily vendors of ours who we've built long-term relationships with. And it's another way for our customers to understand that the products that we carry aren't just, you know, they're not just things on a shelf. They're actually associated with real people who make the products, and real stories behind the brands. And that's allowed us to tell that story that you know, that we normally get to tell to our customers in person, but has obviously been a lot harder these days. And, you know, selfishly, I think it's also been an opportunity to connect with those vendors in a creative and thoughtful way. We normally go to 2 trade shows a year, Expo West and Expo East. And that's this really fun connection point with these vendors that we don't otherwise get to see. So this was one way for us to connect with them and you know, get to hear their stories and then tell that to our customers, and also a chance for me to highlight the great communicator that is my dad. So yeah, it's been fun.
I suppose I should weigh in here as her dad. And
don't talk too long, you know?
Yeah, yes.
Wait a minute. Let me remind everyone on this that Lori Hamill has never once beat me at tennis.
How many times have you played him?
Okay, let me move on from that. It still stands. But I think that banter with Kanter, I believe actually the idea it came up even before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And yet, I mean, one of the most frustrating things about this time period has been all the advice we're being given by business organizations and consultants and everything about how we have to pivot. If I'm put in charge of the world, pivot's going to become a banned word, and the new normal is another one. We're not doing the new normal. And yet, you know, in full disclosure, partially what we've had to do is to pivot. Yeah.
Pivot.
And we had to learn because sociologically and historically, this is a fascinating time, disturbing in all kinds of ways and multiplicity of ways, and scary in a lot of ways. But we only make money by selling products, and we're a community store, and we like being a community store, and our customers love us. We get in about 700 people a day, 500 sales a day in one of our stores, in the Porter Square store, 16,000 items. We're a very complex operation with an extremely well-trained staff that does awesome customer service, and people love us for that, but we only survive and thrive, and we're not thriving now at this moment, by selling products. So we did have to learn and pivot or whatever, and find another way to communicate with our customers and show them another side of what we do. And it has been an opportunity. We were somewhat obviously forced into this situation, but it's been an opportunity to be creative. I think we would have gotten there anyway. We didn't need COVID-19 to make us more creative, but it did force our hand. And we've enjoyed it.
So thank you for that banter, and, Mr. Kanter.
In case anyone was wondering if he had anything to say on the subject.
I just wanted to jump in and ask a question for the three of you. I mean, first of all, I really appreciate the three of you being on the call, and for me, it's been a transformative conversation, because the things you shared are, some cases I'm like, yeah, of course, that's what I'm going through. Other cases like, well, that's something I hadn't thought about. I mean, I think one thing we all have in common is that we're sort of scared silly. I mean, if you're not afraid of what's going on and you're in business right now, you're clueless, right? I mean, it's not a sign of weakness to be afraid, and that's something that we all got to come together, and that's one of the benefits of having these calls. But I wanted to ask each of the three of you, it's got a three-part question, because I'm sort of in the Michael Kanter school of talking, is that what I found is that in anything when you approach in the world, if you can figure out what your assets are as an organization, as a business, I'd love to hear what you think you've discovered, anything new, or just what your major assets are, 2 or 3 assets that your company has that you feel will enable you to continue on, that maybe you knew before or maybe you didn't know. And that's sort of part one. And the part two would be, what has happened that's been inspiring to you? What's happened that's like got you in the morning and say, wow, this is really a positive thing. I mean, a really exciting thing. And then the final thing is, what are you going to do differently, or what are you doing differently? So I'll mention that a little bit, but moving forward that you learned, we already talked about that learned, but it's a positive about that's going to make your business better. They're all sort of related, and you've also talked to them a little bit, but when we talk about our assets, our inspirations, and the possibilities and the positive changes, it puts us in a different space that enables us to go further. So I'd love to hear the three of you speak with that, and starting with Kim, if you could just give me what you think about those things I just shared. Can't hear you, Kim, sorry. I'm terrible at lip reading. There you go.
Okay. All right. There we are. I mean, besides the relationship that I have with my customers, I think the one thing that I sort of maybe even surprised myself with or realized was an asset was my mindset. And I think mindset plays such a big role here. In terms of pivoting, sorry, I had to say it. I mean, the ability to pivot is a mindset that basically you say, I am going to, in the face of this challenge, I am going to dig in and dig deeper. I worked harder during these times than I have, any other time that I've owned the store. And I was willing to do that, right? I was willing to take this on, and I had the mindset that I am going to figure this out, and I'm going to hustle, and we are going to get this done. As the store is open, and I guess one thing that I would just say to this group, I do think that people are coming back into stores, and they're not wanting, they're wanting you to be realistic, but they actually do want to find some hope. So I know that when people come in and ask me, how are you doing? They don't really want to know that I'm 50% down, or that it was hard, or that I worked really hard. I say, you know what? We were really lucky that we had things that people wanted, and we're doing just fine, right? Everyone is dealing with their own stresses. And as a business owner, I mean, again, they don't want you, if things are really terrible, you don't need to quote unquote lie to them, but they really are coming in. And I mean, the fact that you're opening the doors is a signal that, okay, you've made it at least this far. But I think that everyone wants to hear that things are going to be okay. So I would challenge store owners to the extent that they can to try to be hopeful. Because it's kind of a drag to walk into a store and, just sort of feel like the owner or whatever is sort of Debbie Downer, because we're getting enough of that. So I was surprised.
Is there anything that you're going to be doing better or new when this thing is over, because there was a positive as a result of this terrible thing?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, I had been trying to get my local delivery business off the ground. I'd offered local delivery for years, and no one took me up on it. And I really do think that people are going to shop differently forever. Like, I think that people are going to, I just think this is going to change the way people shop for a long time. I think when people wanted to order online, they did think of Amazon or some of the bigger places. And for the smaller local stores that were able to kind of step up and convert some of their local shoppers into, online shoppers, I think that that is something that will stick around. And frankly, for me, as I look into fall and we're looking at these capacity issues, and I mean, we're not going to be at 100% capacity in December, and I'm a toy store. I am literally trying to think of ways to keep people out of my store. Like I want 20 people in my store at all times because that's my capacity. But I really am going to spend all fall training people to do my curbside, to do my local delivery. I will not even come close to meeting my goal if I am, at half capacity. So I'm going to spend all fall literally trying to keep those online shoppers shopping online and local delivery, which frankly, it's to me, I was talking to David Warner, Lori at City Feed, and we both saw each other. Like, I'm a little bit more excited about this business than I have been in a long time because I'm kind of running a different business now. Like the new challenges are exciting because it's like, I feel like I have as much of an online business as I have an in-store business right now. And that's kind of exciting, so.
Great, thanks, Kim. You say your name, Nephtaliem? Sorry. Are you there?
Nephtaliem.
Nephtaliem?
Yes, I'm here. Hang on 1 second. It's going to be every Saturday if it goes well. Okay. All right. For sure. Let me call you in a little bit. Okay. Sorry. I had someone was passing outside and I wanted to talk to him.
Sure.
So asset. I would say, well, I don't know if you've been to Central Square recently, but it's changing like every month. It seems like it's changing a little bit. So I think one of the most valuable assets that Great Eastern Trading Company has is that it's a small business that started in like 1969 and is still here. So I've always sort of lamented that we're a block and a half off the beaten path, but there's a high demand and very, very, very high rent on Mass Ave up there. And I think the new model for business around here is to sell your property to a developer and turn it into a condo with like ramped up retail space underneath or not. So I think that longevity and that it survived all these years, and that I found a map in the basement that I think it was the Boston Globe had done a thing about retail secondhand and vintage and consignment stores in the Boston Cambridge area, and there was 33 on that list. There was 33 small businesses similar to this one, and it was like a map. It had little stars on each of the businesses and a little layout. And this business and Garment District was also on that list. Are the last two on that list. The last two from that list, and that article and that map was from 1992. It wasn't even like super old. I mean, that's old, but so I'm just very grateful that I was able to take over this business when the previous owner had sort of felt as though she couldn't do anymore and things were changing too quickly. And so just having a legacy of a business that people come and say, I bought my prom dress here when I went to my prom in 1982, and now I'm bringing my daughter and I'm just really excited, or my granddaughter or something, it's just a really good feeling that I'm still delivering a product to people who like hold this special place in their heart with this store and what it is. Also, I just have energy, I just have energy that I've been sort of funneling to performance, and that to be able to bring that sort of energy to the store and breathe new life into it, I think is also an asset. I mean, I don't want to get up and move, but this street is getting torn up. So on top of it being where it is, they're like doing all this construction There's like a construction truck right there that comes out every day and sort of blocks off the whole street. So there's challenges and there's things that I can't control. But what I can control is my attitude towards the customers and the community. I'm like good friends with all the neighbors here, and so many people have been coming here for so long that I just feel like you're right. I'm talking to you guys about my realistic negative view on what's happening, but I don't present that to the customers. I'm glad that I'm able to give people hope in that, yes, Great Eastern reopened, and yes, we're plugging through and we're doing okay. I think you said that, Kim, and you're absolutely right. You know, things I would have done that I've learned, I definitely need to, and I boasted that I would when I took over the business. Like, oh yeah, I'm a social media guy. Like, I'm gonna get the e-commerce thing going. I'm dialed in. And then once I took over the store, like the customer interaction and just like running the actual physical store was such a daunting task that I did not really get my products online. And my clothing and accessories online, like I said. So if I had, I could have leaned on that a little harder, and I will, now that I'm in this position that I'm in. But yeah, I'm hopeful. I am hopeful, and I don't know. I've never experienced anything like this, but no one really has. If I just had to take care of myself, I'd be in the same position. But I feel like I have a responsibility to not just Great Eastern and the legacy, but to small businesses surviving in a time where my rent's going up. You know, developers are hungry for this area to like make $1 million on a deal, probably $14 million, just taking over buildings and turning it into condos. And I just don't want to be a victim of that. And I also don't want to, to succumb to it, or to take it lightly. I'm trying to renew my lease, and my lease isn't up for another 2 years. But down the street, it's a scary sight. I'm like, who is going to live in these condos, and where are they going to shop, and what are they going to buy? You know what I mean? So I don't know. I hope I answered your question. I tend to ramble.
That was great. That was great.
Tend to ramble. Yeah.
So this is the first time that I've been fortunate enough to meet you online and on Zoom, and I really appreciate. I'm the executive director of SBN, and I really appreciate you coming on and being so open and so honest. And it's been very inspiring to see what you're doing. I just want you to know that SBN has always been for creating a fair and equitable economy and for racial justice. And as a result of this upheaval and this movement and to fight racism, we're making racial equity and racial reconciliation the center of all the work we're doing.
Thank you.
And that's what we're doing. And I appreciate you bringing up the challenges you're going through and all of that. And I just wanted you to know that we're definitely supporting whenever we can, any way we can, all small businesses, but in particular Black and brown businesses. So we just wanted you to know that, and I really appreciate you being on the call. I know we're a little bit late, but I did want to hear what Emily would want to say about what you think you've already told a little bit, but your assets and things I think you've already mentioned what you do differently, but your assets and the inspiration you've received.
Sure. Yeah, I'll try to keep my banter brief. But I think our assets are our people, our team. We have invested really heavily in our team prior to COVID, and I think that it's paid off for us. We have a really amazing, wonderful team and really strong managers, and who have a very robust understanding of our business model, and have really stuck with us and gotten creative with us. And we literally couldn't do it without them. That's not just hyperbole. I think our deep knowledge, similar, and our longevity, similar to what Nephtaliem spoke to, we have a legacy in the community, and we've really tried to invest in building deep knowledge, and that has continued to encourage people to shop with us, even if they could have gotten their products faster, cheaper from Amazon. They can't get that knowledge base. And then our wide and exciting selection of products has also been an asset to us, has always been an asset, but certainly in the time of COVID. I forget the second question, but I wrote down something about our team stepping up. Our team has really stepped up in exciting ways in the last few months, and eager to see how that carries forward. And one thing that I think that I've personally taken away from this as kind of like I don't know if it's a silver lining learning or something, but it's just, I think, caused me to think deeply about our business model and what retail is and what is necessary to stay afloat, and that includes things like our hours. Right now we're closed on Sundays, and we haven't been closed on Sundays probably since the 70s, early 80s. And our hours are limited, and that's limiting our sales, but it also allows our team, every single one of them, to sort of get home and have dinner on time instead of, at 9 p.m. They're probably healthier as a result. And I think our quality of life has improved in some ways, aside from the really intense tragedy of COVID and the ways that it's affecting people's individual lives, and certainly livelihoods. The fact that we're all eating at home more now, the fact that we are perhaps not going out as much at night and staying out late, and maybe committing to better habits. I think it's certainly been good for me, and I think a lot of our staff are actually just kind of enjoying the being home, seeking smaller pleasures, exploring their own communities rather than hopping on a plane and jet setting. And so I think that, going forward, I want to find ways that as we need to continue to grow sales back to normal levels, we're also looking forward to how our business is more strong and resilient, and not just geared towards constant growth, but rather deep stability and deep wellness.
Well, I'll let you close this, Angelica, but I just want to make a statement from my point of view as I own health clubs. And I just want to share the last 3 or 4 things that I think are assets that all of us share at one level or another. And I think that in my club, I've been in business 48 years, and we've been committed to community for that time. And that's a lot behind that 48-year relationship to our community. But the thing that became the biggest asset for us was how much our community wanted us to survive. Mm-hmm. And how many people stepped up to help us out, paying their dues, forgiving interest payments, staff working, volunteering to work. I mean, the desire for our community to keep us alive is a huge asset for us, and it's true for everybody speaking here. But it's so inspiring to see these people, so many people say, "Great going, keep up the good work. I'm so glad you're here." And that's an asset that you can't buy. You can't buy that asset. You only build that through relationships. So I think that's a big one, and all of you talked about that. The other thing is that in our business, we lost three big indoor tennis clubs in our market area, which is really sad in a lot of ways. Of course, one of them should have never been built, and they're across the street. So we lost our biggest competitor, who was sort of like Darth Vader in my world. But anyway, as a result of that, we're actually bringing in new customers, because there is a fallout during these times, and there is a chance for those who do survive, who are they say the strong survive, if you do survive, and we hope we do, you end up getting new customers because others don't. That isn't a good thing, and overall necessarily. But sometimes there's some people that are on the edge and they just never were really doing the job. And now all of a sudden there's fewer choices, which will change, but it does help with new customers, but it also helps with new staff. We've got some people looking for jobs now. We're going to be hiring about 5 or 6 new staff members, and also letting go a couple of people that we really don't think are doing the job. And I think that's another asset. So I just wanted to put that out there to try to end on, I think it was a really super positive conversation that there are a lot of assets that our businesses have. And I think that when you focus on that, as you pointed out, Kim, and also everybody who spoke, by focusing on that, I think we have a chance to survive, be stronger, and to thrive, and to make it through this COVID, knowing, and I've talked with Michael about this, you know, we had a long walk, and when we go to bed at night, we have no idea what we're waking up to. We have no idea. I mean, it's, you don't know what, I mean, the weather, the internal weather and the business climate changes every single second of the day. So we never know, and we'll just do the best we can. But I'm going to turn over back to Angelica, but thank you so much for everybody who's been on this call. It's been very inspiring. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. I mean, like Lori said, this has been an incredibly informative and transformative discussion, and we're very grateful for, you know, what you're doing for the community and small businesses. And I think this has been such a great conversation. It would be, I think it would be helpful for more people to see this and to make this conversation for public viewing. So if you're comfortable with that, you know, we would certainly like to go ahead and do that from our end. But thank you so much. This has really been inspiring. It's been wonderful to meet all of you virtually. And Nephtaliem, if that flea market is happening, I'd love to come over. And you know, thank you so much again for taking time out of your busy day to speak with us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Everyone.
Bye.